On this episode of the Blood and Bandage MMA podcast, we're going to do a review of UFC 255, Bellator 253, plus other international events.
We also look at what's been happening in the MMA world, including Anderson Silva's release from the UFC, changes to UFC 256, and much more.
So lots to be getting on with, so let's be getting on.
I want to fight with Chuck. Chuck.
I think he just blew his wad there.
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck.
Are you still drunk right now? Are you still drunk or what? What's going on?
This is Bruce Lee shit.
Frank Mir had a horseshoe up his ass. I pulled that sumbitch out and I beat him over the head with it.
I'm actually going to have to take out that Frank Mir reference. I think he'll get very odd if I had that in there. He might never come back to Cork again.
Yeah, he's 1-on-1 with him. He'll be all right.
So what's the crack anyway? We've got a lot to be getting on with today. I suppose we better maybe even mention the fact that we're going to do 2 podcasts this week as opposed to one big long one. Our audience may be relieved to know that we're not going to be blabbering on for 2.5
hours.
Exactly. So today's podcast, we're going to specifically talk about the review and the news. So we're going to review anything that happened in the last few events, and then midweek, maybe Thursday or Friday, we'll see when we can organize it. We'll get the preview of the upcoming events for the next weekend. So we'll see what we get done. But let's start with UFC 255.
Oof.
Or is that the one we're starting with?
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Good card. And I think a future star was born. Do you want to work from bottom up or top down?
Wherever you feel like. Let's go. Let's go from the bottom up. Let's go from the undercard.
So you had Lewis Kosey, Dana White Contender Series alum, making his debut in the promotion against Sasha Palatnikov. Mm-hmm. Now I believe you've seen some of Palatnikov before in UAE Warriors.
Well, I just went back on his record. I didn't actually watch any of his fights, but I knew that he was coming from UAE Warriors, which that's kind of important to know for we say one of our previous podcast hosts was Jason Kearns, who is supposedly fighting for UAE Warriors in his next fight, although his fight's now been called off. But it just shows that this is another feeder show. He literally had one fight in UAE Warriors and has been signed to the UFC with a record of 5-2.
And now he's 2-0 in the UFC.
Is that his second? I thought that was his UFC debut.
Oh, sorry, 2-0 for the year.
Yeah.
Apologies. Yeah.
So his
UFC debut.
So that's a good move for him. Good year for him so far. But also, I think it's just like for the Asian fighters, UAE Warriors proving to be another. Like on top of Brave, UAE Warriors and One now as well are kind of all feeder shows coming in. Like, so we're going to have a lot of talent coming in that way.
One would probably take offense to being called a feeder show, but essentially they are. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's where Ben Askren came from.
But looked very impressive, very very impressive. He was under pressure in round 1. And Lewis he
was nearly out of there in round 1, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, Lewis kind of blew his wad after that. And funnily enough, the fight was the timing of the fight. I know it was finished in round 3. However long it went was 12-13 minutes, I believe. That's longer than Lewis Kosey's accumulated career, 7-0.
Yep.
So there's a lot to be said for guys coming in there that are finishing people early. Still needing to work on that gas tank, because when you get hit the big show, you can't just assume you're going to get him out of there in round 1.
Yeah, and I felt that Kosey had the big shot.
Yeah.
But it was all single shots.
Yeah.
And then when he wasn't firing, he had this very, very bad habit of like he wasn't holding his hands like this up in like a kind of a boxing type pose. He was just literally holding one hand with the other.
Yeah.
Like literally that was his guard for the entire fight.
Yeah.
That's like against a developed striker like Sasha Palatnikov.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. He got picked off after Palatnikov weathered the storm.
Yeah.
Then Kosey just got picked off for the rest of the fight. But I mean, huge kudos for Palatnikov to survive the first round and then to come back and kind of you know.
And that says a lot as well in your debut, to be under that much pressure in the first round and to weather the storm and come out and still look strong round 2, round 3. Very, very impressive. Perhaps another contender from that part of the world at 170 pounds. There seems to be a lot of them.
It's a strong division now.
Yeah,
like strong division at the moment. I mean, like this where Kaimev is and all these lads.
The Kazakhstani, I can't think of his name now, and I'm going to butcher it if I attempt it. But Rachmanov.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
I think that's pretty close.
That's as close as we were going to get tonight, anyway. But it's two good additions. I think Lewis Colsey has some improvements to make, but as soon as he does make those improvements, I think he's going to be a force to reckon.
I mean, for those that didn't see his Dana White Contender Series, himself and his brother actually fought on the same card on Contender Series. They were supposed to fight as well. They're both supposed to fight as well on Saturday night, but they both looked damn impressive. Like I say, I just think when you're hitting the big stage, you've got to make sure the gas tank is there to go the full 15. But I'm sure they'll work on that. I'm sure they'll be back stronger.
I think just more efficiency in the striking will go a long way.
Yeah. Next up, you had Kyle Daukaus, another brother, one of a brother pair that are fighting in the UFC, taking on Dustin Stoltzfus.
Good man.
Yeah, I know. I definitely.
It was Daniel Cormier couldn't get that name right or anything.
It's not an easy one. But yeah, Kyle Daukaus, he was one of the few that normally, when we do our staff picks, in my opinion, there's one guy in the card that stands out. That's our star pick. With 4 star picks in this event, and he was one of them.
Yeah.
But he didn't get the finish, but looked impressive the whole way throughout the fight. Obviously, he's in a tough division, the 85 division. There's a lot of contenders there at the moment, so he's a long way off.
Yep.
Hitting anywhere near a top 15 or another big contender, but. Good win.
I actually, I was in two minds whether to give the first round to Stoltzfus for strikes from bottom.
Yeah,
he was very, very tricky with his guard. So he was using a very strong knee shield, feet on the hips. He was threatening triangles all the time, and then while using a knee shield or like his shins to create a shield, he was landing some severe hammer fists from bottom, and if I was. I almost gave him the round. Like, despite he was on bottom for the entire round, I almost gave him the round for the damage he did from bottom.
That's just it. If you're basing it off the criteria of current judging, they're supposed to go for damage. And it's hard to argue that he didn't do more damage in that round. But he didn't look like getting up either.
That's true, yeah.
You know,
and he took a bit of damage standing up as well before he got to the ground. So.
Exactly. So it's a tricky one to score.
Yeah.
I did give it to Daukaus.
I did too. I thought it was a lot closer than the commentary team were given. And there was some comments as well from the Severe MMA lads that the commentating on that card was atrocious.
It was quite bad.
It was very, very one-sided on some of the fights.
Yeah, so I think when you have, I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan, I'm a huge DC fan.
Yeah.
But when you get them together, for whatever reason, they get a little bit giddy.
Yeah, they were very messy, like.
And I don't know how focused they are on the fights. There was a few people saying about Joe Rogan hadn't done his homework. I think it's just the dynamic of the two of them together.
Yeah.
And that they're not 100% all in on every fight. They kind of have a winner picked in their head, and they're not watching what's actually going on.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'll remember it as we're going through it, but there was a couple of fights where there was in one of the girls' fights, and it was actually the Shevchenko in the co-main, and Cynthia Calvillo, she was behind, and every single shot that she threw, Joe was like, "Oh, did you see that? Oh, did you see that?" And she was after taking 2 or 3 before that from Shevchenko, and not a mention of it, and and then they called another fight as well as a complete robbery, and I had completely agreed with the judges on that one. Again, I'll remember as we're going through it, but questionable. I was disappointed at that. I was disappointed to see the kind of lackluster. Yeah,
and look, Joe Rogan is kind of half in, half out at the moment.
He's making too much money on the podcast.
A lot of money.
Throw some money over to us here, Joe.
Spotify. But to be doing only the big shows in the States, he's doing, and especially the fact that they've done a lot of number cards over in Abu Dhabi this year. he's done, I think, 4 or 5 cards this year. Look, he's halfway out the door there. You'd like to see, because there's some great competitors. I think Bisping's very good. I think Felder's very good. I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan, as I say, but
Dominic Cruz, I'm a big Dominic Cruz fan. But he seems to be kind of a bit depressed at the moment, like, which I know he battles with. But
this is completely off topic, but you just reminded me. Did you see Paul Felder on Dana White Contender Series?
His face looked very drawn. Is that what you're talking about?
So they did the opening gambit where they were kind of introducing the fights, and it was himself and that guy we never remember his name.
Brendan something.
Brendan Fitzgerald.
That's the one.
Yeah.
An Irish name at that. Good old Irish fella. We keep forgetting now.
They did like the cold open for the card, just two of them at the desk kind of building up the fights. And Felder was sitting there like with his head down. Not looking at the camera, head down. They talked a little about his fight at the weekend and how it didn't go his way, and then he had his head down, and it was very dark. Now, he perked up when the fight started, but I was like, wrong move putting him in there 3 days after a big fight like that.
Yeah.
You have to take you hammering. Yeah. He just didn't seem like he wanted to be there. It was very strange.
He probably had he probably still had a headache as well. Like,
he probably still had a concussion.
Yeah.
Look, it was just very to see a guy that normally, they're so amped up and ready for the fights, and he was just head down, kind of staring at the desk.
Yeah.
Clearly somewhere else in his head.
Yeah. No, I didn't notice. I didn't see that. But yeah.
Just off topic, but since you said it. Next one up, you had Alan Jouban against Jared Gooden. Very good fight.
Awesome fight, yeah.
Very, very good fight. Jouban seems to be the guy. Do you know he was born the same day as Shogun?
I didn't know that.
Born the same day.
So he's 38.
25th of November, 1980.
82.
81.
81. No, that would make him 39 now. Because that's me.
Same as Shogun.
Okay. GC doesn't look it.
They only turned 39 this week.
Jesus.
4 days after the fight or whatever, but
yeah,
he looks. But I mean, you compare the two of them.
He's looking fresh.
He looks fresh for that age. A lot less miles on the clock, and started his career much later. But yeah, he looks very, very good for a man that's 39 years old. I was shocked when I saw that, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't even. I'm just hearing it for the first time. I am shocked.
Yeah.
There's no hope for me now.
But the fight was a good one. I think Gooden gave him every bit he could. Made it competitive.
Very dangerous opponent, Jared Gooden once.
Yeah.
Coming in on a 3-fight streak as well, and he was carved out of granite.
Yeah. Big boy for 170.
Yeah.
No, not that tall, but just a unit.
Yeah. And any one of those shots would have landed. And being honest, I think even with I think Jouban was just so technical that it's very hard to realize how good he was to dispatch Gooden in the way he did. Like, he picked him apart with very, very technical boxing combinations. In particular, check hook off the right side. Yeah. So he would hit him with the hook and then he'd be gone to the right. Now, Gooden started to time it towards the end of the fight, but at that stage, Jouban was already done. Yeah. And then every time he stung him, he was just on him. Like, he hit him and then he was just marching right through him, and Gooden couldn't keep up on the back foot. He's fine coming forward on the back foot, not so much.
I liked as well that he kind of reserved a lot of his harder shots until later in the fight. He was just kind of touching early, and it was only when he kind of had seen him a little bit under pressure or rocked that he put more pressure, more into the punches. Very, very smart. A very high fight IQ from Jouban. Yep.
It was a unanimous decision. When I didn't get the judges' scorecards, but I presume it was 37 all across the board.
Yeah, I think there was 130-26. Which surprised me as well. I don't think there was a 10
Oh, there might have been the last round because he had a guillotine. Yeah. He was finishing with a guilotine, so it was.
But I don't think it's a 10-8 round.
Actually, Jared Gooden is out of SBG as well.
Yeah.
Out of SBG Buford, Philippe Gentry gave him his brown belt in jiu-jitsu. So that's SBG Buford.
Brown belt. Holy shit. But Jouban is legit on the ground.
Oh, they're both brown belts, yeah.
Yeah,
they're both brown belts,
on the ground. So yeah, it was going to be a tough fight for him wherever it went, but he looked damn impressive. You're staying in the welterweight for the next one, and European boy Nicholas Dalby looked phenomenal against Daniel Rodriguez.
Yep.
I want to touch on Daniel Rodriguez because he's been busy this year. He was 3-0 coming into this fight for the year, and he's looked incredible so far this year. A couple of good knockouts, some stellar wins. He came in, made who did he make his debut early in the year against? A very impressive win.
It was your man that won last. No, the one.
Tim Means.
Was it Tim Means?
Tim Means. He came in and made his debut against Tim Means and beat him up badly. So Rodriguez is still one to watch out for in the new year, but a very impressive win for Dalby. Very, very impressive.
This was the fight now that
this could have been fight of the night for me.
It was a very technical fight, and Dalby did very, very well to use like his karate footwork to kind of dart in and stay out of range. In the meantime, he got caught with a few shots as well, but like he was landing some really, really sweet kicks. But this was the fight that Daniel Cormier had given all 3 rounds to Rodriguez.
Rodriguez, that's right. Yeah,
and he complained about it being a bullshit decision at the end. And then he was like, "Come on, Joe, you think this is a bullshit decision?" And Joe was reluctant to agree with him, but he did agree with them. Yeah. Like they were so far off on the scoring criteria. Yeah. And I can't remember why. Like, I mean, was it because he was throwing power? I don't know, but like obviously Dalby was kind of stick and move and landing with a lot of point sparring. They even talked about like Dalby should really change up if he wants to win a fight. He needs to change up this point fighting style. And at that stage, I already had
Dalby winning.
I had Dalby
I
2 rounds.
2 up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-1.
2-1, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But obviously, Daniel Cormier reckons he won all 3 rounds.
Yeah. Again, I go back to it. I don't think they're fully, when they're together, I don't think they're fully. And I think a 2-man commentary team is a better dynamic anyway. You've one color commentator and one analyst commentator. Like, having 2 guys color commentate, have you watched much of the Bellator and paid much attention to what's going on in the commentary team with Bellator lately?
I haven't noticed anything in particular. What have they been doing?
So they have 3 now for every show. They have
John McCarthy,
Josh Thompson, and what's his name?
The fella that was
UFC.
He was in
virtually
UFC.
Identical.
Oh, Mike Goldberg.
How the fuck did I forget his name? So yeah, you have the 3 of them on.
Yeah.
And what you have is they're talking about anything but the fights. The boys are doing a 7-hour podcast. And every now and then they'll go, "Oh, look, something happened." Do you know what I mean? It's bananas. And even if you're watching any Bellator event, follow what's going on Twitter, follow like the hashtag on Twitter, and they're all commenting on what are the boys talking about.
I know, yeah.
And they're even saying kudos to their commitment to not talking about the fights. But it's starting to slowly creep into the UFC. The more guys you have in the panel, the more they're talking. Yeah. The more they're talking to each other. Yeah. And less about the fight. So I think there's an element of that involved.
Yeah. So there you have it. Bellator, UFC, 2-man teams, according to Paul O'D. Yeah. Make it happen. Go back to
I'll be one of them if you want. No problem.
Good stuff. So Nicholas Dalby moves on.
Yeah, it's hard to see him moving too far up from this fight. Like the funny thing is, if Rodriguez won this fight, I think he was guaranteed top 15. 4-0 for the year, he'd have been contender for breakthrough fighter of the year. But a win for Dalby over a guy that hasn't quite got there yet. He was very close, but hasn't quite got there. I don't know if it gets him exactly where he needs to be to get back to the top 15.
Well, I think this was a kind of a recovery fight for Dalby because he got submitted in his last fight anyway.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if Dalby's still fighting out of SBG.
That was overturned to a no contest, but that's irrelevant. He was beaten.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know is Dalby still fighting out of SBG, and maybe he's not fighting there at the moment because of COVID, but I don't know whether when we get back from lockdown he goes back to SBG or
I don't believe so. I think he's back training in Denmark somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just don't know. I haven't talked to John about it, so.
Yeah, I think he went back to Denmark and he's training at home somewhere for his last couple. As far as I know. I could be wrong, though. Next up, your first half of the Shevchenko sisters.
Oof. Yeah, this
them girls are starting to grapple.
Yep.
That's fucking scary.
I was actually impressed with Ariana Lipski in the clinch, because like Antonina's like what like a 13 or 12 or 13 times world Muay Thai champion, so you would have thought that she would dominate the clinch position, but Lipski gave her all she had in the clinch, and it wasn't really until they got to the ground where you saw a kind of a clear advantage. Like even the start of the second, I think it was the start of the second round, Lipski smacked Shevchenko with a right hook, and her eye immediately just went from normal to being a red strawberry.
Yeah.
And like that was a moment of danger for Shevchenko. I mean, had she not gotten the takedown soon after that, it might have been a different story altogether. But two good contenders in that division there now.
See, we touched on this as well last week though, about Shevchenko and her sister being champion. Like she is coming off a loss to Chookagian, so I'm not saying this fight gets her there. But
she's a different story with Chookagian now with her ground game.
That's just it. And she's at that point because of the division in the state that it's in. She's possibly one fight away if there were any other champion. And the talks of Shevchenko moving or Valentina moving up to 35 were kind of squashed in Dana's post-fight scrum, where he said he'd rather see her fight Jessica Andrade and then possibly Weili Zhang move up to compete at 25. So he's kind of squashed any short-term plan for Valentina to fight Nunes again. But it like for Antonina, obviously she's delighted her sister is champion, but she's got to make a decision. If she wins her next fight, where does she go? I don't think she's making 15. She's a big girl. She's
definitely bigger than Valentina anyway.
And I think she's undersized for 35, but the 35 division is so weak that it's still maybe a better move than hanging around and playing a gatekeeper for your sister.
Do you know what I was actually shocked with is that Antonina is the older sister.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And she's like 36 as well.
Yeah. So
she's looking well for 36?
100%. Did you see the video they released beforehand where they were kicking the bag in sync? That's the craziest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I must check that one
out.
So
they were doing kind of a dance.
Oh, they always do that, yeah.
They were trying in high kicks with it.
Yeah.
Spinning high kicks, hook kicks.
Yeah.
And like perfect timing. They were literally landing at the exact same time on absolutely everything.
They might have been coordinating with a music track or something like that. So
yeah, but they're terrifying, the two of them. I think Antonina should move up now or win her next fight and move up, because she's going to be in her sister's shadow for the rest of her career otherwise.
True.
Next up, you have the KO machine, Joaquin Buckley. Oof, that boy's got power.
Yeah, and I was looking at Jordan Wright beforehand, and he looked like he was going to be the one to put it to Joaquin. I don't know.
Close enough, yeah.
Buckley, Mr. Buckley. But yeah, he just looked so stiff out there. Like he was trying to time Joaquin on the way in. He did once with he kind of slipped in through a right uppercut, and like was just an inch away from landing flush. Yeah. But apart from that, his shoulders were very tense. Now I know he was kind of tucking his chin and trying to stay out of the KO, but he was so tucked that his shoulders stiffened up. Yeah. I think it affected his ability to strike. He wasn't as loose as he could have been.
I'd be pretty damn tense if I was facing Joaquin Buckley right now as well.
I think we can forgive him for that, not to be fair. Yeah.
But you kind of touched on his early career, that even though, yes, he's undefeated, some of it was a bit questionable.
Was it? Yeah, I didn't really look through it. I didn't analyze his opponents, but I just noticed that like he also has a few knockouts, and in particular, his knees coming up through the middle. He threw one, didn't quite land, but man, he like and he's fought all the ways from lightweight to
middleweight,
not up to light heavy. Fought at 205 as well. And you could see it, like he's got
he's
got
a
that
huge 85er. How the fuck did he ever make lightweight?
No idea. But you can see the loose skin from him having been at a heavier weight. Yeah. Like he's not ripped, and I don't think he ever could be ripped. Yeah. You know, but
he was ripped at 55. You get out of here. You're telling me he was carrying a little bit of weight when he went down to 55? The fucking size of him.
I'd say there was still some loose skin there, though. That's the only thing.
I'd say cut it off for that fight.
So he got caught at the end of the first, and he didn't look right. I think it was Joe Rogan made a point of saying that like he just didn't look right on the stool in the corner.
But for me, if you look that bad going back to your stool, if it's your fighter and you're coaching, and you're out, and like he was slurring talking, and Joe Rogan was on point on that one because I was watching him as well. He was just having to get knocked down. He looked like he was out. He was slurring talking. The first 20 seconds his corner was talking to him, he was looking off in the distance.
Yeah, he was out of there. Yeah.
Do you have to make a call as a corner?
Oh, you do have to make a call, but I think his coach was intently looking at him.
Yeah,
and
I think he did get a response out of him.
He got a response just before they went out,
and
I think that was enough. The confirmation that they needed for him to go back out. No, he was. I mean, he just got caught again. Then that like he was a little bit slower than he would have been. We say at the start of the round.
Hesitancy from being caught as well. Like
I think it was just the fear was in him now. You know, I think when you've got, it's not a case of fight, flight, or freeze when it comes to like when you're fighting, you're in fight, flight, or freeze mode. But when you've been hurt, you're leaning towards the freeze a little bit more than the fight. Yeah, and I think that's where he was, and he just got clipped again, and the eyes rolled back in his head. He was gone. Like,
you see, I struggle with that one because if I see a guy going back to his corner like that and getting knocked out in the first 20 seconds or first 30 seconds of the next round, not that there's some culpability on the corner, because obviously the fighter's probably not going to want to be pulled out of the fight anyway. But they've got to make some decision on it. They've got to be asking them and pressing to see if they're lucid and still with it. Like you say, he did look okay when he came back out, but it's just always a worry when they get knocked out so quick after that.
I felt he had a very affirmative response just before he got up and walked out, and that like once I heard, I was a little bit concerned, like based on what Joe was saying as well and his body language. But once I heard that affirmative action, I was okay then. And I've seen a lot worse. I've seen fighters send corner sending fighters out in a lot worse situations, and I wouldn't have been too miffed about that one. I think they did okay.
Then the next fight.
He called out James Krause, by the way.
Yes. Oof. James Krause has been on a tear as well, by the way.
Yeah.
James Krause has been doing well. Looking very slick boxing. I think that's a bad matchup for Buckley.
For Buckley? Yeah, I don't know. It's just that
styles-wise.
Yeah, Buckley's just so dangerous. Like but then again, he has got, like, he did lose a couple of fights in Bellator early on in his career. You know, so he's not unbeatable.
Lost earlier this year to Kevin Holland.
I forgot about that one.
Like, I know we're looking at Buckley now like he's this machine.
Yeah.
But
two highlight reel KOs will do that for a fighter, but then you kind of have to.
But if you're putting him in there,
very short memory,
technical striker, they're going to have the advantage. And James Krause has every bit of that. I know he's undersized. Like Buckley, I think Buckley weighed in at 182. So that's his walk around weight. He's not a big 85er, so he could possibly go down to 70. But I think he's adamant that this fight is going to be at 85 if it does happen. And I think it's
just 277 guys fighting at 85. Really, that's all it is.
Exactly.
It's kind of like McGregor and Cerrone fighting at 77. So, I mean, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah. James Krause doesn't really turn down fights either.
I only just about caught the YouTube video of James Krause calling, giving out about Joaquin being kind of like a May Feiner and on the fight scene, and just looking to come in and spar and not really be part of teams. As a coach, I'm 100% in James Krause's corner with regards to that. You know, like we've got people calling. They want to come in and just do the sparring, and that's it. They don't want to
offer nothing back. Yeah,
and that's when like it only takes one or two incidences to ruin the atmosphere of a fight team.
Yeah,
if you're James Krause and you're building up a fight team for 3 or 4 years or whatever it is, and you're managing all these little personalities, the drama that goes on between bunches of fighters. You have people kind of they built up a layer of trust with each other. They know how hard they can spar, when they can push the submissions.
And it's a volatile environment anyway.
And then you just get a May Feiner that's in then just to kind of swing his Mickey around the place, and you know, it looks like it might be a big Mickey too.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean? That could ruin the atmosphere, and he might lose one of his long-term fighters for a guy who would only stay there for a week or two anyway, and would have no loyalty whatsoever. So, I mean, fair play for him. I don't even know why he called him out on it.
They're both from the same vicinity, both kind of local county, and Krause obviously like that is running a gym down there.
Yeah.
He's head coach of a gym. I don't know if it's his gym, but he's head coach of a gym, and he's kind of just a bit fed up that Joaquin has. I think there's some dynamic. He was training with a couple of his fighters and pulling them away from the team.
Oh, okay,
here and there. Something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's an issue. That is definitely an issue. Yeah. I think it's going to happen. I don't think the UFC will avoid.
I hope it does, but I think it's a horrible matchup for Buckley.
But if he's living off of highlight reel knockouts, he's going to have to be found out at some point in time. And let's give James Krause the opportunity, you know.
But he even said it himself post fight that he felt the pressure to get a knockout after the spinning back kick. And you could see it in the first round. He was throwing everything with just bad intentions. That's not really a clever way to fight. It's okay, you'll get away with it against the likes of a Jordan Wright. I know, technical striker, but you could see he put fear. You were on about the shoulders being clenched, and he put fear in him. Don't think he's going to put fear in James Krause.
No, not at all. Yeah, James Krause is far too experienced for that.
Yeah, and he'll just kind of touch him up and in and out. Yeah, look, it could go either way. He could get spark him, and it would be a huge fight for Buckley if he did spark him. Next up, you had the flyweights. I was so excited for this fight.
I know.
And it ended way too early.
I know. It was an unfortunate finish, of dislocated shoulder.
But 1 second left in the round.
Yeah.
Just say nothing and go back to your corner and a little pop.
I know. But
and you'd be good to go again.
No, I've never dislocated my shoulder, but I've been around people who have dislocated their shoulder. And by the looks of it, it is one of the sorest injuries that you can have. So... And you could actually see. I thought he would after actually breaking his hand. I thought that because he kind of what he was doing is he was catching his hand, and now that I know it's a shoulder, what he was probably trying to do was pull his hand down to relocate his shoulder by himself, and he looked like he was in deep trouble, like he was in agony. And Moreno just piled it on. Yeah, but like before that, Moreno was looking
phenomenal.
Brilliant. Like he took the back. Like Royval is the black belt, Moreno is the brown belt, and like the way that Moreno took his back, it was slick, and he almost had a twister in for multiple.
It looked like he's a guy who's never ever trained for a twister.
Well, yeah, it is. It is a very it's one of those movements. It's flashy, but it's easy to lose. You know, like you kind of have to be. You kind of have to have it down,
but it was definitely more or less there for him twice.
Yeah, again, like against a black belt. Yeah, you know, who's aware of what a twister is. You know, I think it's one of those moves that you can only really pull off against somebody that you have like a clear huge advantage over, like a Bryce Mitchell pulling it on. He pulled it on another black belt, but like he was clearly dominant in every grappling exchange up to that point, and then like this was the icing on the cake, and he had a point to prove. He wanted to get that twister. He wanted it, like you know. Whereas I think Brandon Moreno was more focused on winning the fight rather than pulling off a flashy submission.
Flashy,
but man,
look, worked to his advantage. But
those rear naked chokes on the lips, like his, I thought his jaw was
gone.
He was
cranking. I genuinely thought his jaw was going to break.
Yeah, I thought his teeth were gone, and even when that initial danger of that one was cleared, like he pulled the hands down, and you could see him checking his own teeth.
I didn't cop that. No, Jesus.
Yeah, it was like it was a scary moment. I'd say he would have left his jaw broke, like.
Oh well, you could see there was no way he was tapping.
There's no give, like.
And that was close to. It was the worst crank I've ever seen. Anyway.
Yeah, horrible. Like he not only had him cranked to the side, but he had him bananaed backwards as well. So there was like Do you know? It was horrible. It was almost a twister.
Yeah.
It was almost a twister without
arm
going
around.
behind the back of the head as well. Do you know? So scary fight. But
and Moreno's got big things ahead of him very soon.
So he's gonna fight
Davison
Figueiredo. So Davison Figueiredo called him out after the fight.
Yeah, but we'll get into that after this card because there's a whole lot to that I want to kind of get into.
So who are we on next? We're on
you have Shogun against Paul Craig.
Oh yeah, I just on
main card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even Dana said it after the fight. I think it's time for Shogun.
Oh, 100%. He looks about 50 in there. Like,
did you ever in your wildest dreams think you'd hear the term Shogun tapped to strikes?
That's I actually forgot he tapped to strikes. Yeah, no, that is. But do you know what? He was right to tap the strikes because he was going nowhere.
Oh, 100%. Phenomenal pressure and top control on the back from Craig.
Despite the oil check.
What the fuck was that about? Like,
that's
I know it's a done thing, but like, cop yourself on.
We had it in.
He's a legend of the sport. Cop yourself on.
But it was Shogun that did it to
was
Paul
it?
Craig.
I thought it was the other way around.
So apparently he was asked in.
I didn't see it. Like,
apparently he was asking the post-fight presser how did it feel to be oil checked, you know? And he said, well, the fact that it was done by a legend makes it all the sweeter, or something to that effect, you know. But yeah, no, it's. Well, we had that in Wimpy Warrior Season 1 as well. We had
get the fuck.
Yeah, we had Reynes Lubrax and Jamie Crowley, and Reynes had a top position, and for whatever reason, Jamie went to kind of push him off, and his hand slipped under the groin guard and like just went a bit south, you know. And Reynes just jumped up like, "What the fuck is going on?" And Jamie was like, "What's wrong with you, boy?" And they just carried on. That was it. So yeah, but the oil check is definitely a good defense to that single leg, but it didn't work.
I'd be jumping over the top of the cage and I'd loan off him. I'm not going near you. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah, but Craig looks phenomenal against probably the worst Shogun we've ever seen. Worst version of Shogun.
Yeah. Well, was it the worst version of Shogun, or was it a really good game plan from Paul Craig? Because he made serious use of those oblique stomps against the lead leg of Shogun. Shogun needs to close the distance. He's got that flat-footed Muay Thai
straight
in
punches.
close. Yeah. And he needs to leap forward with lead hooks. And Craig just shut that down with his oblique kicks. Like, they were nasty. I'd say one or two of those were close to breaking his leg. Like,
yeah,
you know, they were really, really nasty. And he wasn't just like throwing them for the numbers. Like, he was trying to break Shogun's leg. And I think that really stilted Shogun's kind of forward momentum.
Yeah.
And then like Craig's timing on the takedowns then
was phenomenal. Yeah.
Now, he still got caught with a few. Like, Shogun did catch him with a couple of overhands and a couple of hooks and what have you. But like, once it got to any grappling range at all, Shogun, nothing for him. Like,
nothing at all. Yeah, look,
and Shogun's a black belt as well.
I think there's an element of both, that it's the worst Shogun and just phenomenal performance. Because the worst Shogun is still a badass, fighter, but
looks similar to the Shogun that was beaten by Forrest Griffin. If you think way back in the day.
I think that's a better version of Shogun still.
Do you reckon?
I know that was he didn't show up that night, but I just think maybe it's just the overpowering thing of him tapping the strikes on my head. Just something that I never ever thought I'd see out of Shogun.
It's like your childhood heroes let you down.
It was. Look, it's been a weird 2020 for legendary fighters, but I just think he checked out and he just didn't want to be in there, and I just think it was a very, very, very poor performance from Shogun. Hopefully the last one. Next up,
Chukagian, Cynthia Calvillo.
I got this so wrong.
Her Carvalho.
I got this so wrong.
Yeah, you see, we both picked Calvillo, I think.
I thought Calvillo was going to come out with the game plan of rush with strikes to get to the ground, because that's where she's at her best.
Yeah.
And we've seen that Chukagian can be beat down there. but looked like she wanted to play a striking game on the outside with her, a girl that's nearly a foot taller.
Yeah, she'd a full head over her, like.
Yeah, it was just very bad game plan, and maybe bad just plan, kind of
and no adaptations throughout the fight.
Yeah,
you know,
even
just
in
kept
the third round.
Same.
Even the third round, her corner were kind of getting onto her that she's got to go first. She has to try and get the takedown. She never pressured for it, really.
In her defense, it is. I mean, like against somebody with that much of a reach advantage, it's very difficult to get past it.
And Chookagian worked it very well. The jab was money. Yeah, she just kept touching her with the jab, and
I think Chookagian maybe had her back to the wall as well, having like coming off a loss off her. She come off a loss in the last fight?
Jessica Andrade, I believe it.
Yeah. So I mean, like she was kind of looking at the prospect of maybe sliding back down the rankings, and this was something to keep her up there and keep her relevant.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the division, it's something similar to what happened recently in the 35 division where Home and Germain knocked off the two kind of new up-and-coming contenders. Chookagian seems to be kind of doing that to everyone, with the exception of Andrade, and that's a good fight upcoming. You have Shevchenko and Andrade, but Chookagian seems to be knocking off everyone else, even Antonina Shevchenko previous to that. Another big win. Tough girl to get past, but she's just not a match for Shevchenko, so hopefully she doesn't put the kibosh on the whole of the division by wiping through all these contenders.
Yeah, is there anybody, what you reckon, a rematch with Antonina?
Yeah, Antonina looked much better, and I think her ground game looking so good that would be the style to beat Chookagian. I think that would be clever matchmaking next, because you can't put Chookagian straight in there against Shevchenko, and if you match her up against Lauren Murphy, she's going to run through Lauren Murphy, and then she's next in line.
Yeah, but Lauren Murphy is not going to get a shot ahead of Andrade at this stage.
No, definitely not. No.
So,
and Dana made it quite clear, it's Andrade and then possibly Weili Zhang, unless another massive contender appears. So Lauren Murphy has basically been told she's got to beat someone else.
She's got to beat Antonina or Chookagian.
I don't even think Antonina gets her there. I think it's Chookagian, Jessica I possibly, no, maybe not Jessica I. Someone who's just recently lost to the champ. Yeah. So maybe an Andrade after their fight at Chookagian. I don't know. Tough one. Jennifer Maya possibly.
Yep, true. It sucks to be Lauren Murphy.
Yeah, no, she's not going to get a title fight. I'd be shocked unless it's a late notice replacement or something. I'd be very surprised if she gets that shot. Next up, you had Mr.
Perry.
Mike Perry.
Dodgy week for him. Dodgy month for him.
Very, very dodgy.
So I'm a little bit behind on the whole drama surrounding Mike Perry. I know he had a severe difficulty making weight, but is it the girl that was in his corner the last time that he's accused of? And
Saturday night, heavily pregnant. She was in his corner on Saturday night,
and that's the one that he's after given a bit of a baiting to.
So allegedly. This has been ongoing. And then there's some that his mother called the cops because the girlfriend was hiding out in her house, and he came up and started driving across the lawn and going all nuts. Now, again, this is all hearsay. There's nothing proven. UFC apparently aren't doing an investigation, even though they did it for Rumble Johnson and put him on a suspension. I'd like to see UFC maybe do some form of investigation just to keep the fans happy that everything's above board. I think the fact that she's in his corner, kind of puts people off.
There,
way too much. And then you have the issue of the video of him, which surfaced earlier in the year, of him in a restaurant, decking some old man and abusing women, and just being an arsehole in general. And then you have this week where he's telling people all week he's not going to make weight, sending videos to Tim Means of him eating cheeseburgers when he's supposed to be cutting weight.
Yeah.
Coming in 5.5 pounds over and dabbing and saying, not even close. Making a big joke about it. Yeah. The guy's running like very close to being axed from the UFC because he's taking all the boxes of a fella that
doesn't want to be there. Like he's kind of like a Paul Daly kind of a character. Isn't he?
That's exactly who I would liken him to. No, Paul Daly made the cardinal sign of punching a referee. Or no, sorry, he punched his opponent. Punched Josh Koscheck after the bell. But yeah, look.
To be fair, I would have punched Josh Koscheck too, to be honest.
Yeah.
No love lost there.
No. He did everyone a favour. But yeah, look, outside of all the drama, he looked terrible in the fight. That's not to say that Tim Means didn't look very good.
So I almost gave Mike Perry the first round because he had a good takedown from the body lock, and
I did give him the first round.
Actually I did too.
Yeah.
I just noticed now. I'm just going to read through my notes quickly because I can't really remember. But for Perry, like, surprisingly enough, Perry took Means' back and threatened him with the choke. Like,
that was the big shock for everyone. Like, where did this fucking grappling come from?
I know, and yeah, but like from there on in, once he didn't get it, then he was just like it was like he was underwater for the rest of the fight. Then and Means just picked him apart with the straight shots from outside, very very accurate. Just became a kickboxing match after that, and Means was going to win all day long. Like,
the one argument I would say to defend Mike Perry, with all the shit outside the octagon, as a fighter and as a fight fan, he's still going to make every fight entertaining, because in that third round, even though he was getting outpointed, Means was kind of going to a decision and you could see it. Perry was never not coming forward and not trying.
Yep.
He was trying to make it a dogfight the full 5 minutes.
It was like the Ricardo Lamas and Max Holloway finish as well, where they stood toe to toe for it. Yeah.
They swung for the bleachers for the last 20
seconds.
And
UFC appreciates that, but I mean, I think I'd agree with you. I think Perry he's kind of exhibiting a few different cries for help.
Yeah,
he needs an intervention. He needs some counselling. He needs a team.
He needs help. Yeah,
he needs a coach. He needs a team. And somebody strong to kind of pull him in line, like, you know.
Even this crap of not bringing out a corner team, and I know he had someone there now on Saturday, but saying, I'm a fighter, I know how to fight, I don't need someone telling me what to do. It's all very amateur. It's all very Stone Age kind of attitude towards MMA.
It's just immature.
Yeah. The guy definitely needs help. I don't know. UFC seemed like Dana kind of dismissed the notion of cutting him. But I reckon if he continues the way he's going, that's the road he's going down.
Mm-hmm. He's going to end up like being one of these journeymen on the smaller shows, like the nearly made it guy, and
fighting everyone at light heavyweight because he couldn't be arsed cutting weight.
Yeah. 14-7 now, so 66% record. So
yeah, or a 500 fighter as they call him in America. It makes no fucking sense stop calling people 500 fighters.
I've never heard that one.
500 fighter means you've lost half as many as you've won.
Oh, really?
Would you be a 1,000 fighter if, I don't know how the fuck they work it, but they call him a 500 fighter, yeah. Like, they've always been calling Nate Diaz 21-10 a 500 fighter. Just stupid talk.
Yeah.
Doesn't make mathematical sense.
I can't make odds. I can't make sense of the betting lines either.
The betting lines
is 500 and plus. I know it's minus.
It makes more sense than being a 500 fighter, even though. Yeah.
And it's probably easier to understand as well than the 2-1 and 5-4 odd.
Oh, they definitely look at ours and go, what the fuck are these fractions about? What the fuck? They're doing their gambling in fractions. 11-4. What does 11-4 mean?
And then you turn it upside down and apparently means something else. Yeah, no, that gets to me all the time.
Yeah.
All right, so main event, Valentina. Come in. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Jesus, barely forgetting the main man.
I know, yeah, sure. Well, sure, it was too short.
Yeah.
All right, so Valentina Shevchenko, Jennifer Maia. Good scrap.
Great scrap. And it was so funny that everyone was talking so much shit during round 2.
Oh, that
she lost the round. Everyone was like, what's going on? She's not the same fighter. She looks slow. Again, back to the commentary team.
Well, I think that was led by Joe Rogan, and I think are you talking about the Twitter feed as well?
Everything, yeah, like everyone.
Yeah, so
that
the Twitter
feed
would have been heavily influenced by Joe Rogan anyway, you know. And I don't even think she did that bad, like in that round, you know. She
looked like she got taken down and she decided to take a round off. She didn't take much damage.
She took no damage at all. Like she literally
Moya landed a nice elbow at one point, all right, but that was it, I think.
But like even in the half guard bottom position, and she was pressed up against the fence, and like she had her arms fed across, and she was framing on the elbow of the only hand that Moya had to strike her with.
Yeah,
and Moya didn't know what to do with it. Yeah, do you know? So for like, and Moya's a black belt.
Moya's a black belt. That's her world, like. Well, it's not her world. She's a Muay Thai fighter as well, but like she's legit down there. Very decorated black belt.
But that's something that like if you want to score in that position, I mean that was her opportunity to score.
Yeah.
But again, it was very similar in that, like, you know, we had a fight earlier that someone could have won from the bottom position. I can't remember who it was now again, but a couple of good strikes from the bottom there would have given that round to Shevchenko, even though she got pinned against the fence, pinned against the floor, but you can't control
those for most of the fight, most of that round. Yeah,
you don't control, like, unless you put an exclamation point on it with effective striking, which the top person has the huge advantage in that scenario.
Yeah.
But but she won the round. I gave Maya the round, but I think she could have clinched it a lot more decisively than that. And she could have done damage, and then that damage would have led to a different third round. Yeah. Whereas I think that she left Shevchenko off the hook.
But this is I honestly think that Shevchenko was playing just a smart game, knowing that this could be the fight. If she just controlled her and let her tire herself out for 5 minutes, and see that she could, and stop any damage coming in, that it would change the dynamic of the fight coming out in the third. I think, like you say, that Shevchenko was close to winning that round, even being on her back. I think that was a psychological advantage for Shevchenko. I think she just played a smart game because she didn't really. We've seen Shevchenko get up. She didn't look like she was under any urgency to get up back to her feet. She just looked comfortable. She was
comfortable enough, yeah. Because there was no damage there. There was no danger there, which is that's something that you cannot say about a champion.
Yeah.
Do you know, if you want to be the champion and you're in top and you're a black belt, and you're in top,
you've got to be doing something.
You've got to be scary.
Yeah.
Like, people need to fear you in that position. And in her, like, one of the most dominant positions, and she did nothing with it. That for me, I almost didn't give her the round just because she didn't do enough to make good on the position that she had, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, talk about the aggressive throwing after that. Shevchenko, like, with the body lock, trips and throws and lateral slams and everything. Like, she's got some power in those takedowns.
Unbelievable. There was one at one. I think it was the second throw from the clinch, where the rotation of Maya's body, like, it looked really, really sore.
Yeah.
To be landing and your body to be twisting and hitting the mat. She basically hit twice. She hit down and then body rotated around and hit again.
So the lateral throw, that one that you're talking about, happened at the start of round 3.
Yeah.
And in round 4, she took her backwards and threw her as well. Yeah. But this is this is an Asian kind of Russian style of takedown. Do you know, they have those kind of twisting lateral throws.
Judo meets sambo kind of.
Yeah. It like, she's literally striking her with the ground.
Yeah.
You know, whereas we say when Calvillo is getting takedowns, it's always kind of like almost like a soft version of wrestling. They're kind of trips. They're kind of a double legs.
More momentum than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of it's not as impressive. You know, it's not as dynamic. Shevchenko's takedowns are smooth, like, and then from there then to maintain top position on a black belt. I know she was working hard on that half guard and kind of using it to sweep, but she never did sweep her.
Yeah.
You know, she got back to her feet once or twice. But again, like, I don't know, does this prove how good Shevchenko is?
100%. I think people are saying that detracting from her performance and all that. I think it was one of her most dominant performances. I said going into this fight that Moya was her toughest test to date. That doesn't mean a lot for the division, but I'm just saying that for me it was her toughest test to date, and I think Shevchenko knew that. Yeah. She was a lot smarter. Even her corner said it after round 1. Be careful. You know, be aware that she is dangerous.
And that's not something that you should really say as a corner person.
I know.
You're planting.
But when you've got someone that's got that high a fight IQ,
yeah,
you know you can say this to her, and she's going to take it literally. She's not going to take it emotionally.
Yeah,
she's just going to go in there and
she's got her own self belief, so 100%. She's not going to doubt herself.
Yeah, you couldn't say that to your average fighter, but to someone of her level, you can get away with saying it because you know she's going to take it literally and go out there and just watch for danger.
Yeah.
But I think it was phenomenal, and it's quite evident that the Shevchenko sisters went away and worked on their grappling since the last one.
It's good to see.
Oof.
Good to see evolving,
getting more dangerous.
Yeah.
Next one up, main event, new star.
Yeah, David. Like, I mean, I said this to you a couple of weeks ago. For the last 18 months, I haven't watched many. Like only since I've kind of started doing the podcast here that I've watched every fight live again and been making notes. So this Davison Figueiredo guy, I didn't know who the frick he was like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know,
not a lot of people knew who he was until the start of this year, by the way.
And then Alex Perez is coming off the Dana White Contender Series. Only 12 months ago he was.
Yeah. He's looked impressive. Just met a freak in Figueiredo. Like guys at his weight, I know. Fair enough, right? It's a submission finish.
Yeah, but he had the power before that, and it was obvious. Like
this is what I'm saying. Guys at 25 historically just haven't had that power. A lot of them have knockouts on their record, but not a lot of them are leaning towards most of their fights being knockouts. This guy is terrifying.
Yeah,
absolutely terrifying. And
also a black belt, I believe.
Yeah,
and he shot for a scissors. Which is actually illegal in I believe it's is it illegal in amateur MMA? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's illegal in amateur MMA. It's illegal in most jiu-jitsu comps until you're a black belt.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it's if that goes wrong.
Why? Because it's an ankle or a knee breaker.
It's a very serious injury if it goes wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
I can see that, but
Lydia Dedal,
yeah,
MMA Connect TV, was rolling with somebody from Full Power MMA who did that to her and just snapped her ankle. Like she had a video of it.
She was in a cast.
Yeah. Poor girl. She recovered from the snapped ankle and went into the hospital to get her cast off. And as she came out the door from the hospital, somebody swung the door in too fast and like ripped all the back of her leg. She had to go straight back into the hospital and get stitched up and spend another 6 weeks in a bandage.
God. Oh my God, there's luck.
Yeah, but it like I mean, you would see that scissors takedown now a lot in professional grappling tournaments like EBI or we say ADCC and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's against guys who know it's coming and they know how to brace themselves, you know. But if you have somebody that's unsuspecting to that and you go in at the wrong angle, there's like knees popping left, right, and center. There's there's some serious injuries. But he kind of missed it. He didn't quite get it. He got to the point where he was threatening something, but he didn't have. I can't remember which leg he dropped down on, but he needed his leg that was going between Perez's two legs to hook behind the back of the hamstring of the other leg. He didn't get that, and as he fell to the ground, he kind of lost it.
Yeah.
But it was the next exchange where he showed like a totally different level. Like
phenomenal. Yeah. Like everywhere.
It's kind of like Matrix movements. Like
no matter where you take this guy or where he takes you, more than likely, he's just going to be a nightmare. And I want to, while we're on it now, so the only asterisk alongside this man's name is at the start of the year he was supposed to fight Benavidez for the title, and he missed weight. Okay. So Benavidez was fighting for the title. He was just fighting for the win.
Okay.
But Figueiredo won by starching him knockout.
Okay.
So they made the fight again. A few months later, Figueiredo made the weight, won the belt.
Right.
Now, a few months later, he made the weight, defended the belt. Now, obviously, look, 256 has been jinxed from the go. You had Nunes fall off the card, and now you've had Jan and Sterling this week have fallen off the card. So there was no title fight left on the card. And that's the reason that Figueiredo versus Moreno was announced for this fight.
Okay.
Problem is, it's 21 days.
Okay. So you reckon he's going to have trouble making weight?
How is he going to make weight in 21 days? Is that even healthy to be?
Oh, it's definitely not healthy. I mean, if he's cutting a lot of weight, and he looks like he's cutting a lot of weight, he's huge.
Yeah, he was massive. He was yoked. He looked like a featherweight. He looked like a short featherweight. Yeah.
So, it's going to be tough, but I mean,
champions have to do it. I know that, but
it's possible. I mean, I would, if I were him, and it was okay, you're going to do it, then definitely take the next 6 months off. Don't fight again until the summer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you know, let your
body recover.
Let your kidneys recover. More than anything else, is your kidneys that take the brunt of a weight cut. Now, who's it against again? Moreno.
Moreno, who looked very impressive as well.
Like Moreno has, I was only just quickly kind of scanning through Moreno's fights before this, and he's a tough Mexican.
Yeah.
Kind of stays in the pockets, kind of head on the chest, and kind of throws the uppercuts in
doesn't mind getting hit.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
But doesn't have the kind of the power to, like, doesn't have the same power as Figueiredo at all. Would he have enough to knock him out? I'm not sure. I don't know. Has Moreno got knockouts on his record?
He does, yeah.
Okay,
but again, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And Moreno fought at 35 as well, and I believe he has knockouts at 35. So he does pack a punch.
So he has heavy hands, yeah.
But not in the same league as Figueiredo.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I would be asking that is that Figueiredo is the one that's going to have low amounts of fluid in his brain.
Yeah.
With 2 weight cuts on the trot. I mean, this is what we saw with Max Holloway.
Yeah.
He cut weight for the fight that was cancelled, and then cut it again to fight Justin Gaethje afterwards.
Tony Ferguson,
sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And like you saw, he didn't take the punches. He took the punches, but they affected him.
He didn't look himself.
I would be surprised if his life is not 10 years shorter after that fight.
Yeah.
You know, so he'll definitely make it. I think he'll make it. Just that he would need to take 6 months off afterwards.
Yeah, I feel like hanging a pay-per-view event on him making weight when he's arguably cemented himself as fighter of the year at the moment, before he ever goes out there, just based on the fact that caliber of opponents. I know he's only 3-0, but there's with
possibly
the amount of
3
fights,
title defenses in a year. Is that a record?
I'm saying before this.
Yeah.
So on Saturday night, he made a strong argument to be fighter of the year, and now we're hinging a whole pay-per-view event on the back of him possibly making weight, possibly not making weight. If he does make weight and he wins, he's 100% fighter of the year for me. I don't think anyone can debate it. But anything, if there's any asterisks, he doesn't make weight or he loses or something like that, it's kind of ruined the year for him.
Yep. It is a good call out though, like in terms like the two of them had 2 quick fights.
Yeah.
Neither of them took any damage. So
normally it would make perfect sense, but just that one
the weight cutting issue,
thing in the back of my head that it could be very difficult cut for him coming straight back down from fight. 21 days, like that's not even a month. That's a very short time span. Like, before we get on to Bellator, we'll touch on some of the other news if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. Because I'm going to be way behind on the Bellator stuff, so
yeah,
I'm going to be like,
So you touched on Ferguson. He's announced to fight Charles Oliveira on December 19th, on December 12th, which is the card that's going to be headlined by Figueiredo. Phenomenal fight. However, like you said, how does Ferguson look off the back of that loss?
We're going to see. This is going to be...
And he's going in against the guy who...
A striker.
Very similar, like very good ground game, very good jiu-jitsu, lots of submissions, but very competent on the feet and a bit wild on the feet.
Maybe not the power that Justin Gaethje was hitting him with, though.
Definitely not, no. But he'll be quite happy to stand with Ferguson and not be afraid of taking a few shots, which worries me that it can turn into a bit of a war. And I think that's the last thing Ferguson needs is to be trading strikes with anyone, regardless of power or not.
I'd probably say that it was better for him to get Oliveira than Chandler in December.
Yeah, possibly.
Chandler has that
real power,
has that power that could give him PTSD.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Just like one shot like that would just put you right back into the Justin Gaethje mindset.
Yeah.
Like that fight mindset, you know, where you're just reminded of how shit it is to be losing a fight and to be getting your ass kicked. It's very, very hard to, like, without a win in between those two experiences, it's very, very hard to recover from that.
Yeah.
But then again, like, Oliveira is such a dangerous, like, streaking at seven in a row now, and like he's got submissions on top of his striking. You know, like this could be this is the make or break fight for Tony's legacy, I think. Do you know, if he bounces back from here, he goes on to a title shot from this. I would say this puts him ahead of Michael Chandler if he wins.
Charles Oliveira.
If he beats Charles Oliveira, it puts him ahead of Michael Chandler, I would assume. No?
Yeah, see, the Chandler thing's really bugging me now.
Well, Chandler's obviously going to have to fight Justin Gaethje now.
He has to fight fucking someone.
It's going to be Gaethje.
He's only in the door and he's turning down fights. Get the fuck out of here. Chandler is really beginning to get under my skin, and I'm a fan of his.
Yeah.
But this carry on, and Dana defended him again in the post-fight scrum where he was saying, look, he just cut weight and he didn't want to be cutting weight again. You 2 minutes ago you said Figueiredo, who's notorious for missing weight, is going to cut weight in 21 days. Get the no way. No way.
We need to let you loose on some. You need to be given that "Do you want to be a fucking fighter?" speech.
Oh, 100%.
Let you loose inside my dressing rooms.
My goal for 2021 is to get back to training, and my O must go. For those who don't know, my O is not on my lost side.
I don't know. I
there's no going ahead. My point is, there's no going ahead of Chandler. Chandler is nowhere at the moment. Chandler needs to fight somebody.
Yeah.
Whether it's Hooker, whether it's Gaethje, whether it's Poirier, McGregor, anybody in that top 10, he needs to fight someone so we know where he is. Because right now we have no clue. So as it stands, they're all ahead of Chandler until he fights someone. He needs to take a fight in January or February. I think Gaethje is a very smart fight. I think Gaethje runs through him now is the problem.
Well, he should do.
Yeah.
You know, he should run through him, but then that kind of muddies up the top three again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to have, who else is streaking there as well? Is Felder lost, and Felder lost against.
So we have very
RDA.
smart matchmaking at the moment. RDA has put himself in the picture.
Yeah.
You had Ferguson and Oliveira both in the picture. One of them is going to be out. You had Poirier and McGregor in the picture. One of them is going to be out.
Yeah.
And you still have Gaethje hanging around there. You still have Chandler hanging around there. Whether they deserve it or not is another question.
They deserve each other. I think that's the best match.
That's it. And then you've Hooker and RDA. Maybe match them up in January, February as well. Then you've four people. Match them off. Simple like this whole crack of Chandler. I think Chandler just thinks he's getting a title fight. He's starting to bug me now.
Yeah, well, I suppose he was led to believe that by being given the alternate spot.
Yeah, it was strange.
You know, which is kind of usually reserved for somebody who is next in line.
Reserved for number one contender. Yeah.
But so maybe he's just been gaslit by Dana.
Yeah, a little bit, I think. In other news, you had back to the flyweights. You had Hussein Formiga, who's number 7 ranked fighter in the world, cut from the UFC. And
interesting.
Reported on MMA Junkie that at least 75 more fighters will be cut by now in the end of the year. So there's going to be a culling in the UFC. And the wisdom was kind of leaning towards that there's going to be a lot of fighters that are high-paid ranked fighters that are going to be cut.
Makes sense if they're trying to save a few quid. But are they trying to save a few quid, or are they just going to be shorting shows and not be able to?
They're going to be putting on more shows next year.
Yeah,
it's more to do with, so they've got Contender Series now where they're getting a lot of talent from.
Yeah.
Like I think there was 28 fighters this season signed from Contender Series. You will have Tough next year, and these guys are all coming in on 5-6 fight contracts, 4-5-6 fight contracts, and low money. And they've built up their name. They've kind of got this allure about them. So they're seeing it as now they're going to replace the old with the new, and the new is costing far less money.
It's business.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see who does get caught and where they go. because Bellator could be rubbing their hands together in the next few months as to who's available.
Or Bellator might be doing the same thing.
They might be, but no disrespect to Bellator, they don't even technically have rankings.
Yeah. There's some divisions that are quite slack, like.
So there's a lot of their guys, like the likes of Joe Warren and these people that were recently let go or recently ran out of contract. They won't mind getting rid of them if they can bring in a Jose Formiga, who's a ex-UFC fighter. He's got a brand, got a name, fought in main events for the UFC. That's an easy move for them because they're bringing eyeballs to Bellator. So it'll be swapping in old with old rather than new with old. Do you know what I mean? Look, I think Bellator could have a very good 2021 with signings if it's going the way people think it's going to go.
Might be foreshadowing for Mike Perry as well.
Yeah, that's another guy who I think could very well be caught. And what's his next move, do you think? There were a lot of people online saying bare knuckle. Everyone seems to say
he's built for it, like.
Yeah.
He's built for it, although
he's got that stupid go forward mentality, like.
Yeah, and he's got the nose for it too, like after that fight a couple of months back. You know, and like that nose will never be right. No. He's gonna have to, just steal a nose. No,
there's no amount of surgery gonna fix that.
Yeah. So no, bare knuckle is where he needs to be at. I think he'd be a superstar there. Yeah. I think I wouldn't say it would be the healthiest for his brain, because I'd say he's
But look, let's be fair. His brain isn't the healthiest as before going into it. So,
well, you could argue that a lot of his behavior would be symptomatic of the earliest signs of CTE. It's a textbook case of somebody going off the rails.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long. Do you know how long he's been fighting in total? I thought he was kind of relatively new to the fight game.
Yeah, so he made his debut in
2017 was the UFC debut, but before that, has he been, like, how many fights he's got? Like 17 or 7?
Yeah, no.
What did I say? 17 and 4. He's half. He's a 500.
14 and 7.
14 and 7.
He was, I think, something like 5, 6, 7 and 0 coming in, or 7 and 1 maybe coming in, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe 2014, 2015. Not a very, very long time.
So he doesn't have that many miles on the clock, but a guy with a character like that sounds as though he's been street fighting.
But there's other shit going on there. I don't think that, like, look, it could be CTE, but there's other shit going on there in his head.
Yeah. No, you're probably right. I don't know. I think he definitely needs an intervention. He needs a father figure. That's what he needs. He needs hugs.
Yeah. 2 quick things before we move on to Bellator.
Right.
Anderson Silva officially released from the UFC and made a quote saying, "I feel free after an attempt to force my retirement."
Ooh, I missed that.
So your boy's coming back.
Jesus, yeah.
He is definitely coming back. Scott Coker has already said he has no interest in the Anderson Silva business.
Oh, really?
Just doesn't want to pay him. So
it's PFL.
It's not PFL. I've called this from day one.
Oh, you said one. Yeah, one championships. The Asian market, yeah.
100%. They'll eat him up. He'll get paid well over there.
Yeah.
He'll be fed nice little dinners. by dinners, I mean opponents. Yeah, look. I think it's the only move to make. He could end up in PFL, but I can't see him doing a full season in PFL. Like,
that's true. Yeah, yeah. I don't even think I've watched the PFL show yet. I must dig one out.
They're not bad. I like the format. I actually really do like the format. John Jones tweeted a picture of him looking yoked, saying
15 pounds heavier, I believe.
240 pounds never felt so good. Oh my God. What is he doing? It's going to be OSP all over again. He's going to look slow. He's going to look shit. And Chael Sonnen made a couple of comments on that saying...
I saw the video, but I didn't watch it. What did he say? He's usually bang on, like.
Yeah, basically that you don't put on 15 pounds and look like that in a space of 6 weeks.
Right.
From working out in your fucking garage.
You can't beat Chael Sonnen.
He's just like suspect.
And that's from a guy who tested positive as well.
Yeah. Check those picograms when he comes back, lads. Those picograms have to spike it again.
I said they'll be coming nanograms by the time he gets to the UFC.
They'll be fucking grams.
Milligrams.
By the time he gets to the UFC.
Kilos.
Yeah, so suspect as fuck.
Yeah.
John Jones coming up to heavyweight. Gonna be TRT Jones.
So who did any talk on who he's actually going to get? Is it going to be?
No, Dana said in the post-fight scrum, he basically touched on everything, that he's not heard from John that he's moving to heavyweight, and it's not officially he's heavyweight. As he stands, he's still a light heavyweight in UFC, even though he's been stripped of the belt and he's not in the rankings.
What's going on with
Dana is leaning towards the Izzy fight at 205.
Right,
I don't think Izzy gives a fuck. I think Izzy will fight him at heavyweight.
Yeah.
John Jones about 282 pound.
It's like Anthony Rumble. Actually, Anthony Rumble Johnson would be a good fight for him at heavyweight.
Yeah, that would be a fucking monster fight.
Did they didn't fight already?
Take my money. No, and that was the big one. Remember they had that face off, where they pretended to fight, a la Jones DC.
Yeah.
Dana White had a shit attack,
Oh,
and then they were like, "No,
yeah.
we're only messing." But then John Jones said the fucking shooting some woman with a car or something. I don't know, pregnant woman. I don't know. So he got pulled from that fight. But yeah, so they've been meaning to fight for God knows how long, but that'd be a good fight.
That'd be a good fight. Is Rumble is? Where is he now? He's not in UFC. He's in Bellator.
He's back in the testing pool, back in the USADA testing pool.
Okay, so he might go back to UFC. Yeah.
He's also a bouncer for BKFC as well. But
Yeah. I saw that.
All 400 pounds of him.
He's huge. How did that man ever make welterweight?
Yeah. Just don't test either of them and fight at heavyweight, and don't weigh them in either.
Just
go,
have
lads,
them
how
fight
easy you
on
want.
a cruise liner off the state of Nevada, or off the coast. Actually, Nevada doesn't have a coast. Let's say off the coast of Hawaii. What a blonde moment there.
Yeah, that's
Right.
the fight to take to Hawaii. Yeah.
Tell me about Bellator, because I didn't really get a lot. I only got some highlights in this, and I'm woefully underprepared to comment on Bellator.
I'm going to run through it because we've gone way over already. Bellator 253, decent card. I was impressed by it. Starting out the card, you JJ Wilson against Sergio Dabari. Sergio Dabari is legit, like a kickboxer. Excuse me. And JJ Wilson is known as this kind of a good all rounder, but like his submissions are legit. That's why he's been the streaking prospect. And he came out and sparked Sergio Dabara. JJ Wilson is, for me, a contender for Breakthrough Fighter of the Year. He's 3-0 this year. He's had 3 very good performances. Loved his fight charts, cartoon fight charts.
Or would they not? They weren't camo.
No. Jesus. No, he'd like comic strip shorts.
Actually, yeah. No, I saw that highlight.
Yeah. So JJ Wilson, huge contender at 45, and we'll get to who I think he should fight next. But next fight, you had Sullivan Cawley against Jason Markland. It's a good fight. Sullivan Cawley got a big knockout there at light heavyweight. Then you had Baby Slice against Kahim Murray, and that was an absolutely awful fight. I mean, an awful fight.
Really?
Awful.
In what way? What was it? Was it just sloppy?
Just Baby Slice doesn't belong there. He's predominantly a wrestler with not great takedowns.
That's a kind of a yeah.
That sums him up. And the other guy, and no joke, the other guy's a striker with not very good striking.
At least the matchmaking was consistent.
Yeah. striker against grappler, kind of. Go look up that fight.
Okay.
It's
I will.
Dada 5000 against Kimbo.
Really?
Shit.
Did someone die in the middle of the fight again?
No, thankfully not. But yeah, it was awful. Jaleel Willis against Mark Lemminger. Mark Lemminger has had a tough year, and this Willis guy, I didn't know much about him coming in at 70. He's 3-0 for the year now, though, and he beat the brakes off Lemminger. And like Lemminger's eyes were all swollen out, put on a clinic of striking, and just big guy. big guy. I don't know how the fuck he's 170. Which he could be trouble for people at 170. Featherweight, you Jeremy Kennedy against Matt Bissett. Okay fight. Kennedy just kind of out-grappled him and took a clear decision. Then onto the main card. There were some interesting fights on the main card. And I'm very intrigued by Keith Lee. What's his name? Kevin Lee's younger brother.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with him yet.
He was taking on Rafian Stotts. And like I've seen a little bit of Keith Lee. And haven't been blown away by him. But he looked very good in this fight. Now, Rafian Stotts got the decision, but I thought it was much closer than even the commentary team were making out or that the judges' scorecards made out. Keith Lee looked impressive at 135 pounds as well. That division is very strong. Obviously, Stotts looked very impressive as well. I'd say he'll be one to keep an eye on there for making a run at that belt. You had Benson Henderson and Jason Jackson at 170 pounds.
Yeah, I saw highlights from this one.
What is Benson Henderson going up and fighting a man that big for?
Yeah, it looked like he was a small cousin or something, a small brother.
It was man fighting boy.
I always thought, like before this, I always thought that Benson Henderson was a big lightweight. But then I go back and he fought Miles Jury in Dublin, and Miles Jury has fought at featherweight. And
Miles Jury looked bigger than him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's obviously a small lightweight. Had no business fighting at welterweight. Now he goes to 4-2 in Bellator. Now he's looking like that. You know, he's on a slide in his career. When actual fact,
is he even 4-2?
Yeah, I think he was 4. Well, that's what I checked earlier on.
He's 0-2 for this year.
Mm.
He wasn't 4-0 before that. Didn't he not lose one of his first fights? He could be 4-3.
So he beat Miles Jury. Miles Jury was coming off the UFC at that stage, and he beat him.
Yeah.
He beat Patricio Pitbull.
Yeah. Patricky Pitbull.
No, it was Patricio. Because Patricio threw a leg kick, he checked it, and Patricio thought his leg was broken.
Yep.
And I thought he had 2 others as well, but I'll check it there.
I think Henderson has lost more than 2 fights in Bellator. I'll be honest with you. I think he lost his first one. Either way, he looked absolutely terrible. Jason Jackson didn't look much better, to be perfectly honest. He just looked huge and threatening. He threw a lot of big punches and was a guy that looks like he can knock people out.
Mm.
But I think Henderson was just a little bit too smart to be getting involved in that. But yeah, it didn't do anything for either fighter. It hurt Henderson massively.
So his first fight in Bellator was Roger Huerta, which was a win.
Yeah.
Next one after that was Saad Awad.
Saad Awad, yeah.
He won that.
Yeah.
He lost a grappling bout to Wagner Roche after that. So after that, he beat Adam Pigolotti.
Pigolotti, yeah.
Pigolotti,
yeah.
And then he beat Miles Jury. And then his 2 losses were against Michael Chandler and Jason Jackson. So he's only really got 1 loss at lightweight.
Yeah. Which is to former champ, yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm honest, I think that was maybe a bit of a lucky shot from Chandler as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I know he
was a very
dropped
competitive fight, yeah.
I know he dropped him. Well, it was in the first round, so it wasn't it wasn't. I don't think the fight even got going. I think Chandler hit him with the correct shot at that time, but would he have dominated the whole fight if they had went 5 rounds? I don't know. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. He got knocked out. That was the end of that round. But he's only dropped 1 fight at lightweight. I think this is just a bad move for him going to welterweight.
Yeah,
no more than that really. But I do worry about his fight, his mental fight at times. You know, I'm thinking back to when he lost the lightweight strap to Anthony Pettis.
Yeah. And he made a move up to welterweight then, didn't he? As far as I know, in UFC.
Let me check.
And everyone questioned it. He was one of the top 55ers in the world, clearly. And he made this move up just on a whim.
So
want to take on short notice fights at welterweight and all this nonsense.
No, his next 3 fights after that were at next 4 fights. He lost to Daniel Cerrone, and he lost to Daniel Cerrone and Rafael dos Anjos, and then moved up to fight Brandon Thatch at
Welterweight.
at welterweight. But yeah, he did. He went on a bit of a losing streak. Yeah, so his fallback position seems to be when he's losing a fight, he goes to welterweight.
Yeah.
And what I mean about his mental fight was in particular when I'm looking at the camera's been pointed at you there for the last half an hour.
We do apologize.
The time when he lost to Anthony Pettis, that was it was in the first round, and Pettis swung for an armbar from bottom in a kind of like a very, very, very basic armbar setup.
Yeah.
And Benson just tapped without even trying to defend it.
And
I
remember
that to me was very, very indicative of a fighter that just had no mental fight in him at that point in time.
Yeah.
Do you know? Now he's obviously tough as frickin' nails, like all the wars that he's been in, and having to he won at welterweight twice. Yeah, he's got a win over Jorge Masvidal.
That was a split decision win, as far as I remember. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. Welterweight, he fought. Oh no, actually, you're right. He fought welterweight. He lost to Andrei Koreshikov at welterweight. So that was
for
his first
Bellator.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I fucking knew it.
That was his first fight. So
I'm not going mad, ladies and gentlemen. I feel great now.
So where was it? Oh, so then he fought Patricio. Oh, yeah, He lost to he lost to Michael Chandler twice. So
yeah,
and to Patricky Pitbull.
So he's lost 5 or 6 fights.
Jesus Christ! I
You know when you go down through someone's record, if you click next, it shows the rest of their fights.
Yeah. Yeah, so before Roger Huerta, I stopped when I saw a grappling bout, and I thought that, yeah. So no, he had another. Jesus Christ,
he's had a lot of Bellator fights. Like he was one of the first ones to go over, big name to go over.
All right, so he's not 4-2. He is 5-4. So
yeah,
he had 9
that sounds
fights.
more like it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he definitely needs to get out of that welterweight division, stay at lightweight.
Yeah. I look, Kreshnikov's a beast. I don't mind him losing that one, but losing to Jason Jackson is something different.
Michael Chandler was at lightweight, wasn't it? Yeah. That was for the title.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway. Anything else from that card?
There was a co-main that I'm not going to discuss, and a main event, which I will touch on. AJ McKee versus Darian Caldwell, featherweight Grand Prix semi-final.
Mm-hmm.
And AJ McKee looked every bit as damn good as people are saying he is. I've watched his last maybe 10 fights. I'm a fan, and he just impresses me more and more every single time. To get a submission against Caldwell like that, it's the flashy submission, but in the same breath, it's the technical against a proper grappler submission. You don't get them. The one that comes to mind is Mighty Mouse getting the flying armbar almost against I want to say Ray Borg, but it's definitely not Ray Borg, but it was someone with good grappling.
I think it was Ray Borg.
Was it?
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah.
But it just kind of reminded me of that to have the wherewithal to pull something like that off in a fight of that magnitude, and still a young guy, still only 25. What's he now, 17 and all?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll check it out there.
But yeah, the guy is like, whoever comes through, I'm really intrigued by the Pitbull and Sanchez fight. I think Sanchez looked the best I've ever seen him in his last outing. Whoever comes through that must be dreading AJ McKee.
Yeah, 17 and all, you're right.
They have to be dreading AJ McKee.
Yep.
And it's getting to a point where if AJ goes on and wins this tournament, who in the UFC would beat him? If he was 18 and all, going over as the champion at the, and you look at the killer's row he's gone through now to get to this title shot. He hasn't come up the easy way, like.
Just goes to show how good Brian Moore is as well. Like taking that fight on short notice and then taking him to the third round.
That's AJ McKee's toughest fight to date. I've gone back through a lot of them, and from what I've seen, that was his toughest out to date.
Yeah.
Oof. Quickly, before we leave you, LFA 95, Alex Pereira.
Yeah, I had a look at this fight. Yeah.
Scary fucking individual. I know a caliber of opponent.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Like he was fighting a Ken. Like I mean, your man was coming in at 5 and
4 and 4 coming in. Yeah.
4 and 4 coming in. 4 and 5 now. Obviously the guy was in great shape, and I mean, he was another specimen cut out of carved out of granite.
Yeah.
But I mean, had no striking, and up against a seasoned, like world class
100 fight vet.
Yeah,
100 plus fight vet.
Yeah,
that's boxing, kickboxing, etc.
Yeah. No, I had a look. Because I noticed. I don't know. Did you tell me last week, or was it some outlet that I was reading that he has a knockout of Izzy of Israel and Adesanya?
2 wins over Izzy Adesanya.
So there was a split.
Only man to beat him, and he's beaten him twice.
Yeah. I had a look back at the second fight, the one where he knocked him out on, and he was taking an awful beating up until the time that he knocked Izzy out. So, so he's not inhuman.
No, absolutely not. And he's lost an MMA fight. He's 3-1 only.
Yeah.
But an interesting one all the same, that he does possess that power, and he's got a name attached to him this early in his career. I could very well see him. The fact that he's 185 pounds, I could very well see him on the Ultimate Fighter next year.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, because he's definitely gone beyond LFA at this stage. If that's,
and I mean,
like, who else is there at 85 in LFA? I don't even know their roster, but I mean, like, if that's who they put up against him,
yeah, there isn't much. But I go back to my theory again about who's going to be coaches on the Ultimate Fighter, Izzy and Jones. If they make that and put this kid in there, there's going to be some fucking back and forth.
Interesting.
Yeah, look, it's just something to keep an eye on. I think, yes, he's only 3-1, but with his experience behind him, it wouldn't be a huge surprise for the UFC to take that leap of faith in him. And the only other one thing I want to touch on is Invicta 43. We're talking about people the UFC might look at. Kayla Harrison made her featherweight debut. 8-0 now overall. But this poor girl they put in front of her, oh my God, Courtney King. Did you see her face?
Actually, Mar said it to me, actually. My sister Mar said to me that it was a really bad refereeing performance. I didn't see it yet, but apparently the girl took way too much punishment on bottom and got up with, like, basically
put it this way,
spurting blood.
First round ended. Kayla Harrison got off the mounted position, had a face on her like that.
Okay, right.
And was like picking her steps back to her corner,
right,
to avoid slipping in the blood.
Oh, nice.
And the other girl got up, sat in her stool, and came back out for the second round.
Oh, shit.
No, it was stopped shortly after that, but yeah, it should have been stopped. It was fucking awful. Like, it's one of the bloodiest fights I've seen in MMA, and her face was just crimson red blood. It was like a mask. It looked like melted wax on her face. It was just red. Oh, it was awful. But Kayla Harrison,
show that to Sport Ireland. Yeah.
Kayla Harrison looks a killer though, and we were kind of having the discussion. Both Bellator and UFC need a featherweight.
Need featherweights, yeah.
Now, she is signed to PFL at lightweight, so it'll be interesting to see if she can get out of that contract. But money will dictate that, I suppose.
Yeah, so PFL have lost a few fighters and this year due to inactivity because they haven't been putting on the shows. I saw Brendan Loughnane he's released. He's released looking for fights as well. Yeah. So maybe, although if she is such a kind of a superstar, they might not let go of her that easily.
Yeah. Money though.
Would they have some other contenders over there? Do you know anything about their lightweight division?
It's Kayla Harrison is their lightweight division.
Ah, nice. Okay, so she needs to move.
Yeah.
For the sake of her own career, and for the sake of women's MMA as well. I mean, like, do you know,
Nunes has nobody, Cyborg has nobody, and all of a sudden there's this 8-0 contender out there. One of them's got to sign her up. So they just got to get it done. There could be a bidding war.
And you reckon that if she signed for Bellator, that Bellator might even put on some lightweight fights for her?
That's why excuse me, I think it's a smarter move, because yes, she made 45 successfully, she looked great, but she's not a young girl. Making 45 mightn't be a long-term thing. Now granted, she might only be in this for the one fight, whether it be Nunes or Cyborg or whatever, but I believe if she goes to Bellator, she has that Cyborg fight there at 45, but Cyborg or Bellator would be more willing to make fights for her at 55. She goes over to UFC and she can't make 45. UFC aren't going to entertain a 55 fight in the women's division. They're just not going to do it. She's not Cyborg. They tried to do it for Cyborg, and they even gave Cyborg shit trying to cut to 140 first before. Nonsense. They were giving her catchaway fights because they're refusing to make a 45 division. So if they made it that difficult for Cyborg, they're not going to open the gates to 55 for Kayla Harrison. So I think Bellator is a smart move for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that it?
That's enough of my ranting, yeah.
That's all our news for today. So I forgot to put up the old follow things.
The old ticker tape.
Hold on there now. There we go.
There's a little Easter egg in this episode as well, so
yeah.
Anyone that spots it, there's some goodies to be given away.
If anybody's made it to this
and if you've got
part of the website
2020 vision.
Yeah, we definitely need bigger Easter eggs.
Oh, 100%. Or legible Easter eggs.
All right, so those are all the social media links on screen, guys. We'd really appreciate if everybody could give us a like and share on Twitter, Blood and Bandage, Facebook, Blood and Bandage MMA. Whereas we were on YouTube. Obviously, you're watching on YouTube if you're watching the episode. If you're tuned in on Spotify or Google, Apple, which ones? Are we all
Deezer,
Grindr, all of those. If there's anywhere where you can leave us a review.
You haven't put Grindr down in the call to action.
I should actually. That's what we should have done. Yeah, that's what we should have done. Next week.
That's our Easter egg for next week. Our Grindr handles, yeah.
So yeah, and shout out as always to our debate crew over in the MMA opinion on Facebook. If you want to get involved in any conversations about MMA, any of the news that's upcoming, been released, any fighters, any fights, there's some really educated people on that forum that are always engaged in debates at all hours of the night. I get
they're all
notifications.
Over the world, so yeah.
So get across to do that. So what we're going to do some previews during the week. We say Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, we get them up for the weekend anyway before the fights. Luckily there's no Bellator, so there's no conflict about a Thursday night here this week. So it's just for the UFC card. Blades versus Lewis. Good card. Looking forward to it.
Nice. So that's it, guys. Make sure you tune into our next episode, and thanks for being here for this episode. Until next week, until Thursday, Friday, this has been Blood and Bandage MMA podcast.
Ciao.
I want to fight with Chuck. Chuck.
I think he just blew his wad there.
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck. Are you still drunk right now? Are you still drunk? What's going on?
This is Bruce Lee shit. Frank Mir had a horseshoe up his ass. I pulled that sumbitch out and I beat him over the head with it.
You can't stop us at Beard Express. Choo-choo, motherfuckers.
If he was a girl, you would say he has a badonkadonk.
I'm cool with all the gods. Gods recognize gods.
This is #1 bullshit.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
I'm the man of the hour, Joe. Too sweet to be sour. What you see is what you get, and what you don't is better yet. I'm the women's pick. I'm the men's regret. And if you win against Chael Sonnen, you made a bad bet. Vandalay Silva. 6 feet tall and 205 pounds. Boy, until I met you, I didn't know they could stack crap that high.
Where you at, McNugget, you fucking piece of shit? Kick your ass!
I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
I don't have much left to say other than you have seen nothing yet.
Who the fuck is that guy?
You're listening to the Blood and Bandage MMA podcast.